I'd like all of you to take a little quiz with me today. I'm going to say a phrase from a show, and you're going to just guess where it's from. You can shout it out. It's not that big of a deal if you know it. Gotta catch them all.
Pokemon.
It's over 9,000.
Dragon Ball Z.
There you go. And the last one is, it's time to duel.
Yeah.
All right. So we got it. So some of you, this all sounds like nonsense, but to me, these are classic, timeless anime television programs from my youth that I remember fondly. And today I'm going to talk to you about the history of anime and kind of the history that led up to all these classic shows and what has come since these shows have stopped. All right. Unmute. Yeah. Excuse me. So these are your Pokemons, your Dragon Balls, your Yu-Gi-Ohs, very popular shows when they aired. A lot of us remember them fondly from our youth. So first, we got to kind of define what is anime. According to anime reviewer Digibro, anime is a Japanese colloquialism which comes from shortening the term animation. For the most part, in Japanese, anime is synonymous with animation of any kind. On a technical level, there is no inherent distinction between anime and cartoons. On a cultural level, anime tends to be considered in the West as strictly from Japan. So that is what we're dealing with today. So what are the origins of anime? So there's no confirmed date to what is the first piece of Japanese animation. There are pieces, most of them are right at the turn of the century, early 1900s. But the first kind of deemed as the first anime short film that can be dated and confirmed is Namakura Gatana from 1917. One of the first major films was Chikara to Onna no Yo no Naka, from 1933. And these were kind of influential. They kind of established what the animation style would be for that time, borrowing heavily from early Disney Works era, a lot of that which came over later to these shows. During World War II, just like every other country participating in the war, there was lots of propaganda film, very nationalist, Japanese-themed propaganda films, but they were influential. They had animation styles that were new and upgrading constantly. We're going to skip a little bit up into the 50s, post-war, and talk about a guy named Osamu Tezuka, who is considered the father of anime by many anime scholars and fans. His most famous work is Astro Boy, which some of you may be familiar with. The manga for Astro Boy, manga is the Japanese equivalent of graphic novels. It first started publishing in 1952, and the show started in 1963, and kind of continued up through the 60s. In this time, Japanese animation was still heavily influenced by Disney and by Western animation, and you can see those similarities in the character design of Astro Boy there. But in this time, with the kind of narratives and stories that are being told, there's kind of being more of a sense of identity for what animators would be making. This will all culminate over a couple more years of similar types of work being done until 1979, when Mobile Suit Gundam debuts in Japan in 1979. This was a big mecha robots, giant robots fighting massive wars in outer space and on planets and all sorts of crazy stuff. It was hugely influential, wildly popular, sold many, many toys, much like these other two shows here, Macross from 1982 and Dragon Ball from 1986, as well as a plethora of other shows. This was kind of the boom of anime in Japan, basically tailoring towards young men and young boys who would either buy the merchandise or get their parents to buy the merchandise for them. Also in the 80s, two other influential things were happening. The movie Akira, which was the most expensive anime film to make at the date. Stunningly beautiful, one of the highest rated anime films of all time. As well as Nausicaa and the Valley of Wind from 1984. And this didn't launch the career of but launched the wide success of Hayao Miyazaki and his Studio Ghibli, which in the decades that it's running, it still makes movies today, has produced dozens of classic anime films. Some you may know might be Princess Mononoke, House Moving Castle, and Spirited Away, which was the first anime to ever win an Oscar for Best Animated Picture in 2001. And only one other anime has done that for Best Animated Short Film since then. We're going to move on to the 90s. In the 90s, you have kind of a renaissance, a little bit, of animation in Japan. New types of shows became popular. Shoujo anime, which meant for young girls, like Sailor Moon, as well as the Pokemon phenomenon that happened in Japan and then was brought over to the West. Pokemon, as you probably are all aware of, is a huge, widely successful series that has sold tons of merchandise, games, card games, toys, and whatnot. Another show that some of you might not have heard of is Neon Genesis Evangelion. And this show was kind of more for the anime fans, the people that were a little more into the more niche stuff, but it had a lot of grand ideas, kind of artistic, a little avant-garde, a little weird, and that kind of paved the way a little bit more for anime to kind of go that route. In the early 2000s, we have the Shonen Jump adaptation boom. So manga, such as One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, were being published in a serial series called Shonen Jump Magazine. But they started to begin to be adapted into their own anime shows. And these were long-running series. One Piece is the only one that's still currently running, and it's almost at 800 episodes. All of the same narrative, same characters, and it's been going on for a long time, and these are wildly, wildly popular. Also around the same time, a little bit later, anime is starting to kind of grow. How much anime is being produced is starting to get there, and you're seeing even more variety in the type of content that is being made. You have anime like Death Note, which is one of the most, if not the most popular anime of all time coming out in this era, which is a very dramatic drama series, as well as The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, a kind of lighthearted comedy, also with some dramatic elements, and something like Lucky Star, which is just pure slice of life comedy, cute girls doing cute things, and it's funny. Around the same time, the West is starting to take notice of the moves that Japanese animators are making, the design choices and story choices that they're using, and started to adapt this. So shows like Teen Titans, Avatar, and the Boondocks have all started to borrow these stylistic choices, and even most recently, Neo Yokio, which debuted on Netflix. These are all kind of borrowing Japanese animation traits to produce their own shows that all became quite successful. Now, starting like today in the 2010s, anime is basically mainstream to a lot of people. Everyone, almost everybody, especially of our age, know what anime is. And most of these shows might be familiar. You may have heard of them. You may know a friend that watches them. You may have seen them yourself. But shows like these are wildly popular and widely considered mainstream today. And even now, more so today, anime is available for everybody. It's being marketed towards other demographics. Anime are getting live action adaptations, like is the recent Death Note movie on Netflix and the Ghost in the Shell movie starring Scarlett Johansson that just debuted, as well as just availability. You can watch anime on Netflix. Amazon has started their own service called Anime Strike. And there's just a multitude of anime available for any kind of fan. You can find anything you like. Anime News Network, which is the most popular and largest database for anime series, collecting all of them, estimates around 60 new series are coming out every 3 months in Japan that are anime. So these are all animated series, and you can find anything you really want, any subject matter that you want. And you will definitely be able to find a show for you. And now that I've defined anime, kind of talked about the history of anime and kind of its impact today, I just hope that maybe you've learned something, you've been recommended a couple shows, or you may be able to go look for something and find something that you might like yourself, or go back and visit an old favorite.